Welcome to Sasha and Goff Live recorded.
I'm Sasha.
And I'm Goff.
Whoa!
This is episode number 10. Welcome back. First things first, let's talk about the spot. If you weren't here last week, our advertising spot, we decided it's called, was filled by our good friend Useless Dave over at the 1988 Tops podcast. If you didn't know that, just look at the picture because we said you could advertise if you'd like, and that's exactly what he's doing. The Jinkos, just cool. We don't really have a story behind those.
Yeah, he just said either advertise the podcast or advertise me in Jinkos.
Yes.
I believe he said when he was like younger or something. But here's the crazy part. If you tell us to do one thing or another, we're just going to mishmash everything. Because
you're trying to make us do the work. Well, we will do the work. We'll put it together, but we're not deciding for you. That's one thing we're not doing.
And Goff does the work because he does fine work. Fine American craftsmanship.
Appreciate it. If you want to be up on the wall, you can Venmo us. Sasha and Goff, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. You can Venmo us $6 if you want to put a picture up there. Other than that, you can, you're probably watching this on YouTube anyway, so don't worry about it. If you want to check us out on Instagram, Sasha and Goff over there. But, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I like your style. You plug in some things. You're making us seem like a real podcast.
It's been a while. I don't think we haven't really plugged that. And I kind of thought about plugging. It's kind of like if someone's listening to it already, they already know. But I guess maybe they don't know about the Instagram and maybe the...
Yeah.
If you're listening, sasaandgoff.com for the YouTube.
We're finally up to 10 episodes now. 10 double-digit episodes.
Yes.
And I still don't think we've communicated correctly how this thing works.
No.
So we're working on it. It's going to take a while. Maybe at 100,
we'll have a great system. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. I'm good, Goff. Thank you for asking. I'm doing all right. I almost watched Mad Max Fury Road this week.
Still no.
I did confirm I have a Blu-ray disc player.
Nice.
I pulled it out. It's on the counter. I need to plug it into the television, however that works. I opened the DVD because it was rattling. Yes. Remember you bought me the DVD? It just fell out of the case because it was two DVDs.
Okay.
It's a DVD and a Blu-ray. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah.
So I could have watched well, I don't have a DVD on it.
You're like, well, when the one fell out, I cracked it in half over my knee.
What I'm trying to say is I didn't watch it, and I will try to watch it.
Okay.
I had something happen this week. Oh, I guess one bit of news. Riot Fest moved from the suburbs to Chicago.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I think they came to an agreement with the people who wanted them kicked out or whatever. So now it is back in Chicago. And since
is it back in Humboldt Park?
Yes, wherever it was before. Which
seems like a lot of work probably down the tubes for whatever city it was going to be in. I'm just saying. I mean, granted, they're probably happy. The residents probably are, but the city itself probably would have made some.
I think the residents of where it currently is not happy.
Okay.
But the aldermen and all those people are happy that it got worked out because they make money off of all this stuff. Yeah. The place where it was the Chicago Fire's old soccer stadium.
Okay.
I mean, they were doing everything. They were making bus trips from the city out there.
Yeah.
It was a whole big thing, and it probably sucked to do all that stuff. A lot of people didn't want to go. So I ask you, because we're not near either one of those things. Is this better for you? Is this worse for you? What do you think about it?
I don't have an opinion on this, honestly, because even when you told me that it moved to the suburbs, I've heard of that, but I still have no idea where it is.
You've never been
so
over there?
As far as driving or parking,
it's a hike.
I have no idea.
It's a little hike.
But didn't you say it'd be better for parking at least out there? Because it probably wouldn't be as much. Because we could just park in the city, correct? You don't have to pay for
city parking I think is better because the other place you had to pay an additional $40 to park.
Wow.
And it's this is horrible.
Yeah.
I have to take out a loan on my house in order to go to Riot Fest Day 3 or whatever. Yeah. And by the way, then they announced the single day schedules. You didn't see these things?
No, I didn't.
Slayer, NoFX, and Sublime are playing at the same exact time. The last slot of the thing. Those are the three bands that I would love to see. NoFX's last show, Sublime playing with the kid, the Brad Knowles' son.
Yeah.
As the singer, which is incredible, and Slayer reunion show, and they're all playing the same time. The Sunday is not looking as good as it was, and that was like all the better bands that I wanted to see, and now there's like overlap between them.
I honestly don't know. Like for me, because I'm not as big a fan of Sublime. That would be, probably your favorite of the three, right?
No effects.
Okay,
my favorite, but the Sublime thing intrigues me. Like I'm interested in. Like I saw Sublime with Rome. It wasn't the same for me. This I'm intrigued because it's his kid, and he's got a good voice. I've heard him sing before. Slayer, okay, whatever. I went to Slayer's last ever show in Chicago, and now it's a reunion, right? I could do without that, but just like the fact that all three at the same time is like, man, couldn't we put Guar in there or something?
See, it's great that they do that, but at the same time, it's kind of stupid actually. Because think of it right now, that just kind of turned you off of going. Yeah. You know, that's something they should definitely.
I'm more considering the Saturday now, just because I can see No Effects. They're the only band I want to see at night, because otherwise it's like Beck and Pavement. My wife wants to see Pavement. They're not playing at the same time as No Effects. Okay. And then like Dillinger 4 is playing. I think Lagwagon might be on Saturday. And it's like a line of bands that I could just go see in a row rather than a bunch of stuff overlapping. But that being said, the bands I really wanted to see were the Sunday. So it kind of sucks. As far as being in the city, I think it's better than the suburbs thing. I don't know. I don't really have an opinion. I don't like concerts that are that long.
Yeah, again, I've never been, so I can't be like, I either liked it or didn't like it where it was. So,
but yeah, that's really all that's been going on with me.
All right, so I got a question for you, because I was thinking yesterday my sisters-in-law and my mother-in-law took my daughters Sadie and Natalie. They took them like school shopping, and then just kind of took them for the night. And I was just kind of thinking, because having like big families, like stuff like that is awesome. Like when you have people to help out. I was just kind of thinking, because like you being an only child, like I've always wondered, not like, oh my God, I got to get to the bottom of this. But growing up, I feel like a lot of my friends had siblings. I didn't have many single child friends. And I'm just wondering, like, so kind of growing up, like, did you have a big family otherwise? Like, I know your cousins, I know 3 of them, but other than that, I mean, like, when you were a kid, were you doing a lot, like, were you playing, like, in the yard a lot by yourself, running? I know you love running.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like, did you have family close? Like, did you have a lot of cousins? And
I do have a lot of cousins. I have a big family, but I don't have a big family that I, like, keep in touch with.
Mm-hmm.
It's
even back then. I mean, like, not you. Obviously, it's not really up to you.
I feel like.
Or were you calling the shots?
No. I feel
you were a spoiled only child.
Like the world has changed, and the way that people interact.
Oh, absolutely.
Changed. Like family used to be like barbecues, parties, big. Like, and you would always go, and that's where you'd always see your family. And now it's to the point. Me and Megan were talking recently. We were like, we have nothing this year, family party, like 0.
Yeah.
No wedding, nothing whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's partially us because we're not like actively.
You're not like seeking things like, or you're.
Like I don't communicate well with my family.
Yeah.
Like everybody lives in all over the place. Some families, it's like every family where some people talk to each other, some people don't talk to each other. My family we're not like drinkers. Like my parents are not big drinkers and stuff like that. And other family is huge drinkers.
Okay.
And so like my mom is not going to go somewhere where there's big drinking because she doesn't care.
So you're
about
saying
that.
like growing up, I mean, like you weren't.
Growing up was just everything seemed to be more like it was.
Okay.
It kind of feels like it was like before everybody got into fights.
Yes.
It was like we're all cool because we're all Serbian. Yep. There's not a lot of Serbian people, so we're all together and family stuff is always happening. And then it feels like over the decades or whatever, it's like everybody has kind of taken.
Well, someone posts that one thing on Facebook that it's like, wait, what? And then it's like that's kind of how social media, things like that. It's a lot of enemies have been made,
and then fights happen within the family, and then like you have to take a side. And so like we don't. I mean, I don't want to say we're the black sheep of the family, but like. I mean, I am not a big fan of going to family stuff. Not like against family.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to describe it. It's like, I don't know. I'm just not. I don't have a like reason to go.
All right, so
it's hard for me to explain it. Obviously,
okay, no, I gotcha, but like, all right, so for instance, let me just like holidays, birthdays, things like that, like when it was like you're the spotlight. If it's Christmas Day, it's your parents and it's you versus like me and my 3 siblings.
Yeah.
Did you like, and don't take this the wrong way, but I mean, like, would you consider yourself like did you grow up spoiled? Did you think, or did you just like, I don't know, how was your like? Did you pretty much get what you wanted? Like, because I mean, like for me, yeah, our parents did what they could, but it was like sharing a lot, you know, and it's like divvying between the 4 of us.
Yeah, I would say I'm spoiled because I'm the only one, and like if something happened,
yeah,
I am, you know, like,
your top priority always, and
yeah,
you're gonna see, and that's.
But I wasn't spoiled in the way of like, give me this.
Yeah, like you weren't like a little bastard, you know, or like
I
a
don't
little
think
jerk,
so.
you know, like
at least according to my parents, I was quiet and monotone and handsome. Not much has changed. So
yeah. Nice.
Yeah, but you know, it's weird because it's like I do have pictures from birthdays where I was like 8, 9 years old, and I'm surrounded by family and friends and whatever. And then as you get older and older, it becomes a little bit more separate. Mm-hmm. The younger people in my family, I mean, I have a story I could tell. I mean, I guess I can tell it if I don't say names.
Okay. I'll sit back and...
I recently went to a restaurant with Megan, and we saw someone in my family. I will not say their gender. Okay. I'm really being careful here. And we saw this person working at the restaurant.
Okay.
And we were like, oh, wow, that's crazy. And it's someone who I've seen maybe 5 times in my life, but I'm related to them.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, my family doesn't really do stuff with their family too often. Maybe weddings, that's it. You know, it's not like we don't get together or do anything. But we've known them forever. And so, like, we didn't... It's not like I'm like, hey, oh, you know, I was kind of like, I hope we sit down.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not going to initiate anything. So if this person doesn't notice, then...
I don't, like, I feel bad because I'm like, not outwardly going to say something, but I'm just like, we'll live our separate lives, and if they cross, they cross.
We've been doing fine up until now.
Yeah, and I have nothing against this person or anything like that. They're cool. But so we're at this restaurant and whatever, and then we have a server, and the server comes over, and we're talking to the server, and then eventually the food comes out, and then this person brings out the food, and it wasn't even to our table; it was to like a table next to us or whatever. And then on the way back, they stopped at our table, and we're like, "Hey, how's it going? What's going on?" And we started talking.
So that he recognized you, or the person did.
They
okay.
Stop at the table and start talking. Now it's a tricky part, but Megan starts adding some facts and stuff to the story, and we're kind of going back, and we're all like, whatever, we're having a conversation.
The first question was, hey, do you have a penis?
we were kicked out of the restaurant.
I shouldn't have said that one.
And then as the person leaves our table, they go, oh, by the way, my name is blank, insinuating that we wouldn't know their name.
Okay.
Insinuating that they don't know who we are.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
This entire time we're having the conversation, we assumed that they knew because they stopped at our table to talk to us. They weren't giving us...
When he gave you the weird look after you were like, remember last week at Uncle John's house?
Well, we didn't like say anything that...
Yeah.
That would have clicked and been like, what?
Yeah.
So nothing ever that close to home ever hit or whatever. And so this person, like, and they didn't know, and then like it went on, right? And so once they left, we were like, whoa, like,
that is funny.
This is crazy. Then I saw another family member of mine who ended up going to the same restaurant, saw the person and said that, like, this person came over to the table and was like, "Oh my God, it's you!" And like
we had a garage sale situation like this. I just think people don't like you.
I think it's true. I think it's true.
The guy listened to Flips and Bumps for that one. But.
Yeah. So like, but that just goes to show you that like I do not spend enough time with my family. That it's to the point where the younger generation like doesn't even know who I am.
Do you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Yeah.
This reminds me of something that Larry would be pissed about. Like he doesn't want it to happen, but then he'd be upset that person didn't recognize him.
And I'm not pissed about it.
I'm not saying you are, but that's what it reminds me of. Like
I was actually like, this makes sense to me because the person I've seen them 5 times in my life, maybe, right? But I don't want to say this because this person, their family would be like mad at them. Mm-hmm. Like, how could you not know who this person is or whatever? But that's like an old school Serbian thing. Yeah. It's very like tradition, and
I'm watching The Sopranos. I know all about tradition.
I just it's weird. I think a lot of the family dynamic has changed. I have a lot of like older cousins and if you want to call aunts, uncles, or whatever, who are like, they kind of took care of me a little bit when we were younger.
Okay.
And now, like, I don't see that between, let's say, my generation and the generation younger than us. Yeah. Like, I don't have that, like, close a relationship with anybody, really. And this goes on either side. So, like, my mom's side of the family is the one that's in America. My dad's side of the family, they're all over there. Mm-hmm. So I have an even less relationship with those people because... A, they're halfway across the earth. They have been my entire life. And B, I just don't keep up with them, like...
Yeah. I hear a lot of my family stuff from Joni through Facebook. Not her messaging me on Facebook telling me, but it's always like, oh, hey, did you see... Yeah, I'm not going to say names either, but it's just like... I got back on Facebook a little bit ago for the St. Baldrick's thing. And since then, I mean, I go on just to see if I have any notifications. I don't even scroll. So it's like, that's probably the best thing about Facebook is not using it.
Yeah, 100%. And this is, I mean, I'm going to go off on a tangent then here, I guess. The best thing I ever did in my life was block most of the people on Facebook. Yeah. I blocked like 99% of people who I'm friends with on Facebook. Yep. Not for anything they've done wrong, but just because like what I use Facebook for is like, find out where open mics are going on, and, like little group things.
It's the things you have to scroll through to get to what you're actually looking
I don't
for
need to see who's doing this. No offense, but I don't need to see your children going to school. I don't need to see everything. I hope that doesn't sound mean, but you know what I'm trying to say is like,
out of here.
Oh God, I don't know how to host this. But yeah, it's like so much stuff that I just don't keep up with. And then, there are people that I'm like, oh yeah, I'll keep them around or whatever. But yeah. And then there's the people who don't talk on Facebook for like 2 years. And then they say something and you're like, I thought I blocked everybody.
Yeah.
But then they show up on there. So yeah, I don't know. I've never really had a thought of like, what would it be like to have brothers and sisters? But when I was younger, I did want an older brother.
And that's why that's what I was wondering, because I know like you're very close with like Nick and Goran. Like, did you grow up like? I mean, Nick, at least like through your teen and high school years, like you guys like when it's up to you to hang out with each other. Did you guys hang out a lot as kids?
Yeah, they were like my cousins, my number one cousins. Okay. Like that was my group. Everyone else that was outside of them was kind of like the next level of like they were my closest cousins. Yeah. But even them, like Goran's moved, Nick has moved, Melissa's still here. She's got kids now and stuff, which is like our families don't do very much stuff. When we do, it's kind of like it's small.
Kind of like what you're talking about with just the change of times. It's like we went to my mom's family Christmas party last year. And it was like it was fine. We didn't really know that they also invited like some of their friends and like some of his what used to be like our family party, and then it was just like, wait, who are the? And again, not like what the hell's going on, but it was still just like and then it's like a lot of the people just aren't showing up anymore. It is.
So like and the other thing, like I never was like, oh, what's it like to have brothers and sisters, whatever. I was just like, this is what my life is. But my parents did say when I was younger that I wanted an older brother. That's like apparently what I said. And so they brought over one of my cousins from Serbia. He lived with us.
Oh, jeez.
And yeah, and he ended up being my boss. Like,
okay.
He's my cousin. I mean, he's like...
I've heard stories. I don't know if I've met this cousin, though, but maybe it's
I don't think you have.
Okay.
But yeah, like I worked for him for 10 years. We're very
awesome.
tight. I consider him in my close group. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't have a big close group. I don't have a big family, but like, he's definitely in there.
That's good.
And so like they brought him over to kind of be like, here's your big brother, because you can't do it any other way. But also he wanted to come here. Also, he's driven and like successful and whatever, which is another thing. It's like the one generation was hardworking and like got to make money and will send money back to Serbia, blah, blah. And then the kids of that generation, which is what I'm in and a lot of my friends are in, I feel like we're just a bunch of like, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like we have theories on life and stuff. And my parents had no time for theories, right? They were working their job. And we're like, yeah, man, but it hurts inside. You know? It's like,
but you can...
in a way, we're spoiled because we didn't have to work the way that they had to.
Well, see, that's the thing, though. I mean, like, different for you because you don't have kids. But I mean, like, for me, the things that, I talk about, it's like, oh my God, it's like, every kid is going to have that story about, or every parent is going to be able to say, like, my life's so much easier than my parents, but my kids and hopefully by the time they're my age, their life with technology and stuff has gotten that much easier, you know? But it's kind of like back to what you were saying about like, you weren't spoiled, but it's just like, I'm more kind of the center of attention and that's not really my fault. That's my daughters. They have 0 cousins. So it's like come Christmas time, you know? And it's the same thing. It's just like, I say to myself, it's like, you guys are so spoiled. But it's like, no, as far as their attitudes and stuff, no, that's not what I mean. They're not gimme, like kicking, demanding things. But it's like, you guys are just kind of spoiled just because you get everything.
It's good that they have each other too.
Yeah.
Only child isn't a bad thing, but it is different.
It did suck because like on my dad's half, like more cousins on that side, a lot of younger cousins. My mom's half, not as many, so they were the youngest too. So it's like, yes, if it was just one, it would have been, it would have sucked.
Yeah, and you asking like, what did I do? Just run around by myself? I did. I would play soccer in our backyard. We had a fence that was like, you know, like panels of fence. Yeah. And I would think like one of them was a goal, and I'd be like, Stojkovic, goal! Like and I would like celebrate, but just by myself in the backyard because it's like, what else are you gonna do? Yeah. And then you make friends and you play with other people and whatever. But I don't know. I didn't think it was like abnormal or weird or anything, and I don't know. I never. It's weird because Nick, Gordon, and Melissa are like brothers and sisters to me. Yeah. Like they were. I'd see them all the time.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, but it was like not living with your
just at the end of the night we go our separate ways. But awesome, cool. Yeah, no, I was just curious about that. So
that was a weird one. I hope you don't clip any of this because I don't need this going to any of my family members.
I'm gonna clip all of it, baby. It's gonna be like a 23-minute clip.
Well, don't go to Baker Square where this person works who did not know who. Oh God! Oh no!
That's no. It's just funny because last night, like I said, my daughters were with the in-laws and my sisters-in-law, so we were trying to figure out where to go, and like we did say Baker Square at one point. There's only one I know of.
Probably Wisconsin Dells.
No, actually, this one is like in Illinois. All I'll say is the town does start with a W, but that's it. But anyway, so I guess if you got nothing else, let's talk about what we're putting inside ourselves.
All right. Well, I'm going to start this week because I think you started last week. I got 2 things. I think that's my thing. I think I'm going to do 2 things all the time. You feel free to dabble how you want, but
I love to dabble.
I seem to go one visual, one audio.
Sounds good.
I'll go with audio first. It's something that I've been listening to heavier rotation than the past 6 months or whatever, just because like I came across it and then I was like, let me listen to the whole album, blah blah blah. I know it's a band you love. It's a band we have liked for a long time here. Counterpunch. They put out an album, it's from 2022, 2 years ago, called Rewire.
Love it.
And to me, this is the best Counterpunch album, period.
I agree.
I feel like they've gone in waves.
Did you listen to any of their, like, I don't know if you, what streaming service you use for, like, your music? Like, I use Amazon, just for whatever.
I use Serbian Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazonich.
But
no, I was just gonna ask, like, have you heard the B-side songs from there?
No.
Yeah, there's one handbook for the recently debriefed, I think, and then there's there's two or three of them. They're fantastic. They played them live, and I felt great at the show because it's like I know these songs. I know.
I'm telling you, when I heard this album, I was like, oh. Holy, like it hit me. I was like, wow, this is
very good.
And then song after song after song, and I was like, man, this is, and I told those guys at whatever show I saw them, I think everyone except their drummer, because it was Richo at the time.
Yeah.
And maybe I didn't see him or whatever, but everyone else.
He did drum with them when we saw them live last time, but they had Jim was their drummer.
Yeah.
We thought.
Richo, like I've been seeing him drum since way back in the day, like he used to play in the local, he was in Jinx Pack, I believe, back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And Jim, I don't think I've ever met, but the other guys I've met and know, and like we booked them to play and stuff like that. And I told all of them, and I was like, I hope you guys don't take this the wrong way, but this to me is the best thing that you guys have put out. And it's like tough for that because they're like our age, right?
See,
they're
why would you, I mean, like, what, I totally understand what you're saying, but I mean, like, that to me is anytime you tell someone it's just like this far in and it's like, this is your best one. I don't know if, I mean, like, I understand what you're saying, but to me, it just seems like anytime you'd hear this is your best one, you'd be like, hell yeah, it's like we're still making good music.
That's why, like, I want it to go over correctly. But because I have so much, like, love for this album, it makes me feel like that I don't have love for the old albums.
Agree, it's the best one.
And so, like, I'm like, whatever you guys did, and by the way, as you get older, things don't get better. Like,
true.
It's just the way, I mean, like, some things do. We can debate whatever way you want to take that or whatever, but, like, a lot of bands fall off, a lot of basketball players, you don't get better. You get better to a certain time, and then you know what I mean? Like, it's just natural. And so these guys are guys who are like, I'm pretty sure my
prime
age.
Late. We'll take it.
We'll take it. I mean, I love this album. I think it's incredible. And so I want them to take that as like,
it's awesome. Good.
Don't clip this either, because now I'm embarrassed to talk about this thing. Clip the whole thing. Just clip it.
I'll do it.
But yes, that's one thing. And then the other thing that I have that I haven't even finished watching this, but I wanted to see if you've seen it. It's the movie Summer Rental with John Candy. Have you seen this?
A long time ago. Yeah, it's one of those classic 80s movies.
So this on IMDb had something like 3.5. I mean,
really?
Stars or 30% or something like that. It had Karen Austin in it, who Karen Austin was in the first season of Night Court. She was actually like the main person with Judge Harry T. Stone.
I bet I'd know in a second if I saw her.
And she got like Bell's palsy, and they replaced her after the first season. And so they ended up getting Christine, which was what's her name?
Is that Shelley Long?
No,
was she on Night Court?
No,
that one
she was on Cheers. I forgot her name, but anyway, Christine, and then Charles Robinson, I think was his name, the black guy.
Okay,
like they came in later. One of the older people on the show died, and then they brought in another old person. But whatever, she was in season 1 of Night Court. So when I was watching this, I was like, I know her. Where do I know her from? And then I looked it up. This was almost like, to me, so far, because I haven't seen the whole thing, but it kind of reminded me of like Vacation with Chevy Chase. Yeah. Except it's like 2 years after that movie came out.
Yeah,
so
it's
it was
just
like, let's just do it with John Candy.
I've seen it before. It's been so long, though, and it's like a lot of those 80s movies just...
It's so goofy and like, like a lot of
ridiculous
stuff doesn't line up, and you're just like, all right, okay. But
it's very of its time.
But it's cool seeing John Candy. Are you a John Candy fan?
Yeah, I mean, for Spaceballs and a few of the, I mean, like, Uncle Buck, love it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Not that familiar with that one actually.
Okay.
I know that obviously I know the movie, but it's not really in my wheelhouse.
Yeah. So that's. I mean, I only got halfway through it. I have it on VHS. I actually bought it at that garage sale where I got the Nintendo box.
Nice.
And it was sealed. It was brand new. And I got a couple other sealed ones over there. So I bought it, and I was like, yeah, let me open this
VHS?
Yeah.
Nice. So you're watching it on VHS?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's the best. It's like a different way to view it.
Damn
it's
right.
like I was hoping there were
hit the plus button for tracking.
Yeah. There's no like previews before it, which bothered me, but besides that, it's solid. So, what are you putting inside yourself this week?
Okay, so I've been, like I said, the Sopranos and The Good Place. I've been watching those, pretty much just trying to finish those. So I don't have a ton, but I did catch last night. We went out to dinner as a family, and on one of the TVs, the Pro Foot Volley Tour. Have you seen this? It's essentially just volleyball, but you play with your feet.
I've seen.
This isn't like a new sport, but just like we were watching it yesterday, and I mean, like, these people are like, just imagine, like, you know, like in soccer when they do like the actual, like, kind of the kicks in the air, like not a full like backflip, but I mean when you kick over your head,
scissor kick. Or,
these guys, these people, they're jumping like foot above and like spiking down with the bottom of their foot. Like that's, I mean, but I mean, I was trying to look for the rules, so I didn't like look like an idiot. But from what I was seeing yesterday, I think it's shoulders down. So you can't use your elbows and your hands, but I think everything else is fair game because I'm seeing people use their shoulders, their chest. I mean, it's just another one of those sports that's like, wow. Like, have you seen those reels on Instagram or whatever with playing baseball with tennis rackets?
No.
These guys literally, they'll play with a glove in one hand and a tennis racket in the other. And it's like, so if the ball comes to you, you scoop it up with your glove and just kind of toss it and smack it to the first baseman. It's insane.
I love that. That's how bored we're getting. It's like
basketball.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that movie? Yeah, like that. How ridiculous it is. But yeah, so I mean, just more watching this, and Joni and the girls didn't care that much, but I'm like, "Do you guys see that? Did you see that?" I'm like looking up at the TV and like no one cares but me. But
there's similar to that. They do it with ping pong.
Okay.
But like the table is kind of like a half circle.
Okay.
So it's not just like a flat thing or whatever. But same thing, feet only or head or shoulders.
What does that work easier? Oh, so you're saying it's more like pitched?
I don't know what pitched means.
Pitched
but
like
circular.
Like
it's not like a triangle though. It's kind of like this, but it just
what is the point
circles
of that?
At the end. I think if it hits, it kind of bounces out further.
Okay.
I'm guessing they did research on this thing. I have no clue.
Is it like ping pong though, or do they use like their feet?
It's ping pong sized table.
Okay.
Just curved at the end, but they're playing with a soccer ball and with soccer rules.
I have seen that. I have seen that. Yeah. Yes, that is insane.
I will tell you my favorite thing that I wish I could watch or play or figure out. Like if they made one of these arenas near my house, I would go all the time.
For that?
No. This balloon game. Have you seen this thing?
No,
it's
but I
one-on-one balloon people.
Okay.
They're in an area. It's got a car. It has all.
Right, so it's just it can't hit the floor, I'm assuming?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Can't hit the floor, but with like stuff all
Obstacles.
over the place.
That's amazing.
It is the most amazing video I've ever seen. And
that's great.
You can hit it over the car, and then the person has to run around the car and whatever.
That's like some of the newer TV shows they made, like Tag. Did you ever watch that?
No.
Where, I mean, it was literally, I mean, they did, that probably would have been fun, like you were saying, with like obstacles like couches and stuff. But this was more just like bars and stuff, you know, just obstacles, but it was literally just tag, but like professional guys.
I have seen that, and they're like swinging under things.
The Watt brothers, like JJ and TJ, yeah, they were the hosts. But yeah, it's, I mean, usually it's exciting, but like it goes pretty quickly because I mean, you know, really when you're the person who's it's a lot easier.
Yeah,
you know, but yeah, and then other than that. This is actually just like quickly because fantasy football is coming up. Actually, I got my draft in a couple weeks, but yeah, just was listening. I've been listening to a couple podcasts for that. CBS has a good one, and then this is kind of a shout out actually for The Ringer, which is a podcast network. They have like a bunch of sports ones, TV ones, whatnot, but one of their podcasts is called The Rewatchables, and that's probably my favorite. Probably my favorite movie, just straight up podcast. It's just like a bunch of classic stuff. The thing I love about it though is that like the guy who runs it, his name is Bill Simmons. He used to work for ESPN, and so most of the people who work for like the network, there are so many sports references. So it's just hilarious when you're talking about like they're talking about like say Anchorman or whatever, and one of the guys is like, oh, and then this guy comes in and he's throwing 100, just like being a huge sports fans. It's like I love like one of them, I forgot what it was, but it's just like, oh, and this guy comes from off the top rope. It's like you just know it's like he's coming it out. But so the Rewatchables podcast, just a good one if you like movie reviews.
I actually was looking recently for other podcasts because you do that every once in a while or whatever. I came across that, and then I saw Bill Simmons was the host, and I was like, I have nothing against Bill Simmons, but I was like, oh, this is like a sports. He's obviously a huge sports guy.
Yeah, see, I didn't know that before.
Yeah.
Like one of the other podcasts I listened to kept mentioning this podcast, and it's like Bill Simmons, but it's like, why do they keep saying his name? And it's like, oh, he used to be like a big name for ESPN.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when he got this, and that's the thing, though, with like the Ringer Network, there's like 15 podcasts, but like 5 of them are like movie podcasts, and it's like they're good, but it's essentially a group of like 10 to 15 people who just rotate, and it's like they're always like guesting on each other's podcasts. So it's like I have like 1 or 2 that I really like. One of them is the fantasy football one. That's what kind of made me think of it. But so just foot volleyball and other podcasts. So. This week we're our topic that we're talking about is our top 3 bands from Illinois. This could be anything. Could be punk bands, could be folk bands, could be country bands. Because you love country, so
we love that Illinois country music.
Yes, we do. But you started last week, so I will start this week. I'm just gonna go with Rise Against. Obviously, I think they started in '99. That's what I think. Yeah, but anyway, no, Rise Against, just like a huge punk band. Obviously, that turned into like this worldwide phenomenon. I've seen them so many times, just in the small Chicago venues, the Fireside, the Metro, the House of Blues, all that stuff. I've been to many concerts where I have seen the guys in Rise Against just hanging out. Yeah, remember at Strike Anywhere when Tim was there with his little daughter with like noise canceling headphones, and it was probably really awkward for him because I kept looking back and making eye contact with him like he's still there. I will say though, after like the first 3 or 4 albums, pretty much everything sounds the same. Like if you just played the next 4 or 5 albums in a row, you wouldn't know when one stopped and the next one started, because they just kind of got that way. Still some good stuff. Not one of the better live bands. Now I'm doing like my cons. Actually, I love Rise Against on album, but I think they're pretty terrible live.
Really?
I think Tim sings too fast always, or he's winded. I don't think he's a smoker or anything, but he just doesn't. I don't think he's a very good singer live.
That's interesting because I loved them live.
Okay.
But I don't love them. I don't like them at all past 2 albums.
Okay.
The Unraveling, their first album, is to me top 10 album of all time.
Wow.
I love it. I think it's one of the best punk albums I've ever heard. I put it with NoFX, Punk and Drublick.
Damn.
I love it. I think it's so good. 88 Fingers Louie, Back on the Streets, from that to the Unraveling, Rise Against. Those 2 albums, both to come from Chicago, is insane. And after 2 albums, I was like, no, this isn't working for me. Like, you can see the change and where it's going.
Okay.
And they got the new guitarist, and it just...
See, that's the weird thing, too. It's just been a revolving guitarist, like... Or at least it was for, like, the first 3 or 4 albums. It was, like, every time you'd see him live, it was someone new.
I was going to say, after Dan Precision, I don't know, like, what happened. I thought that guy was in it for a while or something. But I really don't know.
The guy who's with him now has been in for quite a while, but...
Yeah, I stopped paying attention to them for a long time. I actually did kind of write them down. Just as like, if they had continued on that, or stayed the way that they, or didn't evolve, or however you want to like.
No,
nicely
I
say
will
it.
Definitely say now they're not the band I like. Yeah, the band that I used to love.
I have not wanted to see them in over 15 years, probably.
Yeah, no, I would not. If it was like, hey, Rise Against is headlining the show, it's like the other bands have got to be pretty damn good for me to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, as far as Chicago bands though. And yeah, the notoriety they got, so it's like another one of those like good for you guys stories. So,
yeah.
And like again, me seeing them at like the Fireside and stuff, you know, in really small, shitty venues.
Yeah, same. And I've talked about it before, but I saw them and Fall Out Boy in a church basement in Downers Grove,
crazy.
And it's like those 2 bands are incredibly massive bands that played at this little church in a suburb of Chicago. Like, to see them, even like Plain White T's. Plain White T's used to open for a lot of band like Big Wig and those type bands, and I was never a fan of them. But to see what they've done is like, holy cow! Travel the world from Arlington Heights, Illinois.
Well, I remember Plain White T's. I don't even remember the guy, but it's just like one of the I used to hang out with some of the kids that went to the high school they went to, or some of them, and it's just like, that guy's in the Plain White T's. It's like, oh, cool. Like at the time, it's like they're nothing now, but yeah, it's crazy. So what's your number 3?
So I'm gonna stay in the punk realm. It's really hard to come up with this number 3 because there's so many bands. We're obviously from Illinois. We know so many bands personally. Mm-hmm. Bands like All Else Fails and Break the Silence, who
both went through. Yeah.
In my head, it was just I know. It's like those are like bands in my heart. You know what I mean? But there's like one band. I used to be a massive Naked Ray Gun fan.
Okay.
And then I kind of like slowed down with them. I still like them. I have their records in here. I'm a fan. But there's one band that was like an older band that I liked, and it's kind of stayed consistent over the years, and I still think they're a great band to this day. The Boll Weevils.
Okay.
Now I have 2 tattoos of Chicago bands, right? 88 Fingers Louie was probably going to be this band for me. But they've gone they're not a band anymore or whatever. And so that's kind of why I gave it to the Boll Weevils. Like, they're still around. They're still playing incredible shows. I don't know if you're a Boll Weevils fan at all.
The only last time I saw them was the first time I saw them. Yeah. That was with Guttermouth.
Dr. Darryl.
So the lead, did he pass?
No. Okay. He's a doctor in Naperville. Right. He's the man.
Okay.
And he's so he's older than us. He's got so much energy. Does he
have the long dreads?
Yeah. He's so energetic, so good.
I think when I saw them live, I had, at least to my recollection, never heard them. I knew of them, so it was just like, okay,
love them. Saw their reunion show at the Metro in 2002, a long time ago. Nice. And they've just been consistently just up there. You feel good after you see them if you're a fan of them or whatever. Yeah. And the other bands, like I said, 80 Fingers Louie, Naked Ray Gun, even Rise Against, it's I love all these bands, don't get me wrong, or at least eras of the bands. Mm-hmm. But I kind of now, currently, I'm let's give it to the Boll Weevils.
Nice.
So that's my number 3.
My number 2 is Cheap Trick. Say that 5 times. My dad used to always say that to us. Say it 5 times fast. But no, I not a band that I throw on all the time. I was just trying to change it up a little bit because otherwise it would have been just all punk or hardcore bands out of Chicago. But I actually saw Cheap Trick live. I don't remember if we talked about that on this podcast, but I saw them in Hanover Park at their festival, I don't know, probably 15, 20 years ago. And I don't think the song The Flame.
No,
Wherever you want, I'll be with you.
Oh, yes, I do know that.
Yeah, you're going to let me sing the whole song. You're like,
I know that let you go again. But
you know what I'm talking about, though?
I do.
That song?
Yeah.
I don't think they played it at my wedding
I didn't know that
reception.
Was Cheap Trick.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite songs. That was one I actually had in my head when we were making a wedding list, a song list, and then it's just we have a DJ. We don't need to do this. Yeah. It's make your thing. But
that's interesting. Cheap Trick, I think Rockford, Illinois.
Yeah.
Solid band, been around forever. Cheap Trick live at Budokan?
Yeah.
I don't know enough about Cheap Trick. I never got into them, but it was never offensive. It was just a band that I never got into. It's just
rock and roll. I mean, it's another band that was always on. Just because my dad, his love of music carried on to all his kids.
Yeah.
So I mean, and seeing his old records and stuff too.
Always feels like they're playing, or one of them is playing somewhere around.
The Dream Police. I mean, great songs. And like you said, there's the local connection. So.
Yeah. Okay.
How about you? What's your
My
number 2?
top 2, I'm actually going to stay with a similar, I'll say similar to Cheap Trick in the fact that they've been around for a very long time, since the 90s, maybe even before that, but I think since the early 90s. Not that long. but the Smashing Pumpkins.
Okay, cool.
I love the Smashing Pumpkins. I'm a big Smashing Pumpkins fan. I got to a point where I stopped listening to the Smashing Pumpkins because they went in a direction that I was not a fan of at the time, when they went synth, and then Zwan happened.
So what was like the last? I'm trying to remember.
I mean, like after the melancholy and the infinite sadness stuff, they kind of like started going. I don't remember when Zwan happened. I don't know if there was one more album before Zwan. I don't really know, but it wasn't until probably like 5 years ago that I started like re-listening to what happened after Smashing Pumpkins. So they weren't a band for a while. They got back together. They're currently a band. They just played Wrigley Field the other day with Rancid and Green Day.
With Rancid?
And Green Day.
And Green Day. Yeah. That's insane. How much were tickets for that?
I wanted to go, but it was like $3 billion or something. But yeah, so I mean, and Billy Corgan, obviously he's went to the same high school as Billy Corgan.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah. And I lived a block away from where he used to live, where his dad used to live.
I have heard so many stories about that. It's like, no, his brother went there and he went here and da-da-da. Okay, so
I've heard so many. Like, I follow him on Instagram. There was a period of time where he would go live and just talk and answer questions and blah blah, and or just like go on this discussion, like not even discussion, just talk for a while, and you'd like be like, okay, this is interesting, whatever. I've never heard him like talk about Glendale Heights, Illinois, or any Carroll Stream, Illinois, or any of these places where like they say he's from.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know if it's like he didn't have a good childhood growing up and doesn't want to think about them, or like moved when he was young or whatever. But I've heard him say that like he went to Glenbard North. Like, that's a known fact, I'm pretty sure.
When you tackled him to the ground and wouldn't let him up until he told you?
I have only I came close to meeting him at a wrestling show one time.
Okay.
Twice, actually.
Doesn't he like own a Fed? Or
yeah, he owns
like
the NWA, which is like the oldest wrestling company in the world or whatever. They kind of like went downhill, and then he repurchased them and has brought them back up. Like they're still like not as big as a mainstream company.
Not as big as the other NWA.
Yeah, probably not. But yeah, there's a lot of people have a lot of opinions on Billy Corgan and all that stuff. Yeah. But I don't know, Smashing Pumpkins to me, especially like, the old stuff. Siamese Dream is my album. That was like my first album that I heard from them, and I love that album. A lot of people like Gish. That was the album before. Yeah. And then they were big, Tonight and all that stuff. Bullet with Butterfly Wings, Zero, all that stuff is melancholy. So I kind of lump them with Cheap Trick. It's like they've always been this Illinois band that like people have opinions on, but they're always going to be there. Yeah, like, they always stick around. They're not going anywhere. And that being said, what is your number one?
Well,
then you know what? Let me do my number one. You go.
I could do your number one for you.
Yeah, which is I was going to do my top three in a row and just to let you have it because I think mine was easy.
Okay.
Blue Meanies. Yeah. It's my favorite band of all time. They're not a Chicago band, but eventually a Chicago band, but they're originally from like Carbondale.
Oh, okay. Well, still.
Yeah, they're an Illinois band. This is
Rise
an Illinois
Against
thing.
is Arlington Heights, but yeah.
Whatever. They're an Illinois band. They count, and they're my favorite band. Not much else to say.
You've never talked about them on this podcast, so
yeah, it's true.
Cool.
Your number one.
All right. Well, my number one is actually a band that you just talked about like 10 minutes ago, and this is going to sound really cheesy, but it's Counterpunch. I actually really, really like. They're one of my favorite punk bands, and the fact that like I know these guys, and like one of them I'm more familiar with, but like when I see them at shows, they remember me, and I remember them. At least the two that have been in the band since they started, Eric and Jared. But no, like you said, their new album, Rewire, is fantastic. I love it. I mean, like, I actually, in the other songs I was talking about,
I didn't mean to say that in this episode.
No, dude, it's just, it's so funny that you said that. And also, it kind of helps my cause here, because it was just like, and it's funny, too, because you had that,
we didn't talk about this stuff before, and we just both happened to talk Counterpunch.
Yeah, and it's, I wore a Counterpunch shirt in one of the episodes, but I don't even know if we've talked about them. That's just funny, both episodes. But yeah, their whole catalog, and another band that we actually got to play for us when we were the few shows that we ran back in the day. Maybe we'll talk about those someday. Not today though. But yeah, Counterpunch, just awesome punk band, still at it. We saw them within the year with Wilhelm
and with Belvedere. I think they opened for Belvedere as well.
Okay. Good stuff.
You didn't go to Velvet.
No, I didn't go to that show.
Yeah.
I didn't go to that show.
Any potent notables for you? There's a billion. The
You
band
know,
Chicago.
yeah, pretty much the bands you talked about. But yeah, I mean, yeah, 88. Geez,
The list goes on, and
Yeah.
it's almost impossible to do. Every list we do, I say it's impossible to do, and then we whittle it to 3, and then I hope that we never talk about them again. So.
well, like All Else Fails, who you talked about, and then Break the Silence are both just kind of branches from Counterpunch.
Yeah,
You know, I
yeah.
mean, like not well, it was All Else Fails, then Break the Silence, then, but you know,
I don't even remember the etymology.
if you
of-
put on The Chase of Gain, I could sing that entire album, and I could do all that. Like I love that album
it's a
so
great
much.
album. Yeah.
I don't think it's on Amazon though. That sucks. I remember like on iTunes, they actually like their graphics showed up. I remember that like when I.
Well, and so like Andy, who's the singer of All Else Fails, and then Counterpunch, right?
To start, he's not anymore.
Yeah.
Just for the first album.
Yeah, but that was
Yeah.
a branch, but he was also in Last Annual.
Well, and
which is,
then-
like one of my favorite punk bands. I
Yeah,
love Last Annual.
but then Brian, who was also in All Else Fails, was in Break the Silence, and
Break the
also,
Si- yep.
and then Jason
Yeah.
from All Else Fails was in Break the
yeah,
Silence.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's this whole
And Brian played in Counterpunch for a little bit.
yeah.
Actually, he recorded on I think the third album, but yeah, it's
Yeah, I
the
guess.
family tree with those bands.
So that's that. That is our top 3 Illinois bands. We did it, which means it is time to pick our top 3 for next week's episode, if this bucket will allow us to do so.
All right,
Here it comes.
worked well last time.
Oh no, I don't like how this is headed. Oh God. All right. Then.
I'm just waiting for the
I
TV to.
know. It's okay. Then we'll have to take money out of this cup.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Next week's episode.
Next week's top 3 football players.
Football players.
Yep. Top 3 football players.
All right.
You know what? I'm gonna say right now we can use TV football players.
What does
Okay?
that even mean?
I mean, like movie, like characters.
Okay.
Okay.
But it has to be football players.
Has to be football. I guess. I mean, yeah, we could watch. My number one's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. 'Cause he's mine. So.
All right. So yeah, we'll just say like football players. Doesn't have to be an NFL player.
Okay. And if you do not like this topic, then do us a favor and send us some top 3 lists.
Please
Whatever
do.
you want us to talk about, we want to hear it. Top 3 carbs, top 3 protein. Someone's stealing my dog. I'm pretty
Yes.
sure if you
Top
can hear
3 ways to steal a dog.
that. Yeah. And yeah, whatever. Just send us something, sasaandgoff@gmail.com. And if you want to knock Useless Dave out of this advertising spot, $6. Don't forget to
$6.
Venmo us, Sasha and Goff,
Or you can wait 4 weeks and pay
$1
$1.
American.
But let's
Actually,
say
3
6.
weeks because this was up last week.
It's true.
So
Okay.
we're still figuring it out too. We don't know how this works. We'll see you guys next week.
Later.